to be any effery. I'm not going to say the word. I'm trying to cut back. Any effery that takes place when it comes to choosing this team. The most notable of these is the Los Angeles 2028 Olympics. Yet there are several important events before that. The biggest one is the 2020.
That's confusion mixed with genuine frustration. Because what we're about to break down isn't just bad analysis. It's a media member making a bold prediction about Caitlin Clark's future, while apparently ignoring what Caitlin Clark literally just said about her own future. And the disconnect here reveals something bigger about how WNBA coverage works right now.
No. During a January 1 live stream with Bleacher Report that listed bold predictions for the 2026 season, WNBA analyst Jordan Robinson, quote, "My prediction is Caitlin Clark makes the 2026 World Cup roster, of course, but the timing of that around September, the playoffs are about to start. Indiana could be making a run for the finals because they got that close this past year. But I think she makes the roster, but declines to rest for the playoffs."
So here's what happened. During a January 1st live stream with Bleacher Report, WNBA analyst Jordan Robinson made her bold prediction for the 2026 season. She said Caitlin Clark will make the 2026 World Cup roster, which, sure, that's expected, but then declined to participate so she can rest for the Indiana Fever's playoff run. Robinson's exact words were that Clark would choose to sit out the World Cup because Indiana could be making a run for the finals and she'd want to prioritize that championship chase over representing Team USA. On the surface, that might sound reasonable. Player chooses team over country to chase a ring. We've seen it in other sports, but here's the problem. Caitlin Clark already addressed this directly, with zero ambiguity.
We just talked about this the other day. Caitlin Clark was a guest on the December 31st episode of the New Heights podcast. At one point, she conveyed how important the 2026 FIBA World Cup is. She talked about it directly. After talking about how nice it had been for Clark to be back on the court during that Team USA training camp, quote, "The training camp kind of kicks off the next cycle for preparing for the Olympics, and then we have the World Cup in 2026 at the end of September. So we'll actually pause the WNBA season, very similar to how we did with the Olympics, right before the playoffs, and then we'll play the World Cup."
December 31st, one day before Robinson made her prediction. Caitlin Clark was a guest on the New Heights podcast with Jason and Travis Kelce. And she didn't just mention the World Cup in passing. She talked about it with a kind of conviction that leaves no room for interpretation. She explained that the training camp she just attended in Durham, North Carolina, kicked off the next cycle preparing for the Olympics. Then she specifically said, "We have the World Cup in 2026 at the end of September. We'll actually pause the WNBA season, very similar to how we did with the Olympics right before the playoffs. And then we'll play the World Cup." Notice what she said there. We'll play the World Cup, not they'll play or the team will play. She's already including herself in that equation. But she didn't stop there.
Said her goal is the Olympic team for 2028 as well. What are these media members doing? I mean, what are you doing exactly? I'm going to predict she's going to skip it. Really? I mean, it makes no sense.
Clark went even further. She explained that the World Cup is technically harder to win than the Olympics because more teams qualify for the World Cup than make it to the Olympic tournament. More competition, more games, higher degree of difficulty, and then she said, the quiet part out loud, "Hopefully I'm on the team for that. Hopefully I'm on the team for that." That's not the language of someone planning to decline an invitation. That's the language of someone who desperately wants to be selected and is already thinking about what it takes to win. She continued by saying her goal is to make the Olympic team for 2028, acknowledging it feels far away but is probably closer than it sounds. The entire conversation radiated one clear message: representing Team USA matters deeply to her, and the 2026 World Cup is a crucial stepping stone to the 2028 Olympics. So when Jordan Robinson predicted Clark would skip the World Cup the very next day, it wasn't just a bold take. It was a take that directly contradicted what the subject of the prediction had just said about her own intentions less than 24 hours earlier.
In September of 2026, I would believe that would be televised, I would guess, on NBC Sports or USA Network, but don't quote me on it. It's too early to know as of yet. So we got a sports media member here that believes Caitlin Clark is going to skip Team USA in the World Cup.
And that's the question, isn't it? What are these media members doing? Because this isn't a situation where Clark was vague or non-committal. She wasn't leaving the door open for interpretation. She wasn't playing coy or being diplomatic. She said exactly what she wanted to do, explained why it mattered to her, and expressed genuine hope that she'd be selected for the roster. Robinson's prediction wasn't based on insider information or reading between the lines of a carefully worded statement. It was speculation that ignored the most relevant piece of evidence, the player's own words. And calling it a bold prediction doesn't make it better, it makes it worse. Because bold predictions should be based on seeing something others missed, not missing something everyone else saw.
I wanted to make this video because I wanted to shoot this crap down immediately. That's fake news. That is fake news. Yeah, Rhodes, it's a bold prediction, blah, blah. Nah, no, it's not. Why predict it when she just said, I want to play in it? It's very important. I mean...
Now, let's be fair about the logic Robinson was using. Her reasoning was that Indiana could be making a deep playoff run in September 2026, and Clark might prioritize bringing a championship to the Fever over playing for Team USA. On paper, that's not an insane theory. Players have chosen team over country before. The timing is awkward. The World Cup happens right before the WNBA playoffs, which means Clark would be playing high-intensity basketball right up until the postseason with no rest. But here's what that logic misses. First, the WNBA season is pausing for the World Cup. It's not like Clark would be choosing between two simultaneous commitments. The league is building the World Cup into the schedule just like they did with the Olympics. So the choice isn't rest or play for Team USA. The choice is rest while everyone else plays for Team USA, or play for Team USA like everyone else. That's a completely different calculation. Second, and this is crucial, making the 2026 World Cup roster is essentially an audition for the 2028 Olympic team. Clark knows this. She said it herself on the podcast. The World Cup isn't just another tournament. It's where the coaching staff evaluates who's ready for the biggest stage. If Clark skips the World Cup, she's not just missing one event. She's potentially jeopardizing her spot on the Olympic roster 2 years later. Does anyone actually believe Caitlin Clark would risk her Olympic dream to get an extra 2 weeks of rest before the WNBA playoffs starts?
All right, black and white sports supporters. Well, my goodness. It's hard to believe these people are actually paid to do anything, to do a job, to go out there and just make random comments and look like total idiots. I saw this headline, was like, what are they talking about? So I get to look at it and I'm like, are you kidding me? She literally just covered this.
And third, there's the legacy factor. Caitlin Clark has already dealt with the narrative that she was snubbed from the 2024 Olympic team. Whether you think that snub was justified or not, it happened, and it became a massive story. She handled it with grace, said all the right things publicly, and then dominated the WNBA season while Team USA won gold in Paris. But you know she remembers. You know she wants to prove she belongs on that team. The 2026 World Cup is her chance to do that. It's her opportunity to show up, compete at the highest level of international basketball, and erase any doubt about whether she deserves to be there. It's her chance to be part of a Team USA championship run instead of watching from home. Why would she voluntarily give that up? For a player who's 24 years old and has been playing high-level basketball her entire life, that doesn't add up. Robinson's prediction assumes Clark values a WNBA championship more than a Team USA championship. But nothing Clark has said or done suggests that's true. She talks about representing her country with reverence. She talks about the World Cup being harder to win than the Olympics. She talks about hoping to make the roster with genuine emotion in her voice. This matters to her deeply.
Because I dropped that little nugget in my Paige Becker's video earlier. And guys, I just can't even... Let me show you something. I'm going to peel back the curtain on the analytics for that video. You see that subscriber number plus 171 off of basically 15,000 views? Guys, you get 171 subscribers off of like 100,000 view videos. So that tells me there's basically 171 people that realized they had been unsubscribed by YouTube to the...
So why did this prediction get made? That's the real question. And the answer reveals something about how WNBA media coverage works right now. There's pressure to generate content, to have hot takes, to make bold predictions that get people talking. Caitlin Clark will make the World Cup roster and play well isn't a headline. It's not going to drive clicks or start debates. But Caitlin Clark will decline Team USA to focus on WNBA championship. Now that's a headline. That gets attention. The problem is when the hot take becomes more important than the accuracy, when the bold prediction matters more than whether it makes sense. When generating engagement takes priority over doing basic research, like say listening to what the player actually said about the exact topic you're predicting about. And this isn't just about one analyst making one questionable prediction. It's part of a larger pattern in WNBA coverage, where narratives get created and repeated regardless of whether they're grounded in reality. We saw it with the Olympic roster discourse. We saw it with the Rookie of the Year debate. We see it constantly with coverage of Clark specifically, where people project their own assumptions onto her instead of listening to what she's actually saying. The frustration in that clip is justified, because this isn't complicated. Caitlin Clark was asked about the World Cup. She answered clearly. She expressed enthusiasm about participating. She explained why it matters for her long-term goals, and then a media member made a prediction that contradicted all of that without acknowledging the contradiction or explaining why Clark's own words should be ignored. That's not analysis. That's not insider information. That's not reading between the lines. That's just making stuff up and calling it bold. And here's why it matters beyond this one prediction. When media members build their analysis on faulty foundations, it creates confusion for fans. People who didn't hear the New Heights podcast might now think there's genuine uncertainty about whether Clark will play in the World Cup. They might think she's actually considering skipping it. They might think there's some behind-the-scenes drama or tension between her commitment to the Fever and her commitment to Team USA. But there isn't. Clark was clear. She wants to play. She hopes to make the roster. She understands the importance of the World Cup for her Olympic aspiration. The only uncertainty is whether she'll be selected, and given that she's one of the biggest stars in women's basketball and just had a historic rookie season, that's not much uncertainty at all. Now let's talk about what happens next. Because the 2026 World Cup is still 20 months away, and a lot can change between now and then. Clark could get injured. The Fever's roster situation could evolve. The Team USA coaching staff could make unexpected decisions. Those are all legitimate variables. But barring something dramatic, here's what's going to happen. Caitlin Clark will be selected for the 2026 World Cup roster. She will accept that selection. She will play in the tournament, and she will do everything in her power to help Team USA win gold. Because that's what she said she wants to do. And nothing about her track record suggests she says things she doesn't mean. The WNBA season will pause for the World Cup, just like it paused for the Olympics. Clark will play in Berlin in September 2026. Then she'll return to Indiana for the playoffs. If the Fever make a deep run, she'll be playing basketball deep into October. If they don't, she'll have the entire offseason to rest. Either way, she'll have represented her country at the highest level and positioned herself for the 2020. And when that happens, we're all going to remember this prediction. Not because it was bold, but because it was obviously wrong from the moment it was made. That subscriber situation he's talking about is real, by the way. YouTube's algorithm has been aggressively unsubscribing people from channels particularly smaller sports commentary channels. 71 new subscribers from 15,000 views is an insane conversion rate. It suggests those people thought they were already subscribed and realized they'd been removed. It's part of why independent sports media has to work twice as hard to maintain their audience while dealing with platform manipulation. But that's a separate issue. The point is that content creators are fighting an uphill battle for visibility, which creates even more pressure to generate attention-grabbing predictions and hot takes. The incentive structure pushes toward controversy over accuracy. And that's how we end up with predictions that ignore the most basic relevant information, like what the player actually said. Here's what makes this particularly frustrating. The WNBA is experiencing unprecedented growth. Ratings are up, attendance is up, mainstream media coverage is increasing. New fans are discovering the league. This is the moment when quality analysis matters most. When the media covering the league has an opportunity to educate new fans, provide genuine insight, and elevate the discourse around women's basketball, instead, we get bold predictions that contradict the player's own stated intentions made less than 24 hours earlier. We get speculation presented as analysis. We get engagement farming disguised as commentary. The WNBA deserves better. The players deserve better. And the fans definitely deserve better. Because when you're trying to understand what's happening in the league, you need media members who actually listen to what players say instead of projecting their own narratives onto them. Caitlin Clark told us exactly what she wants to do regarding the 2020. She didn't leave room for interpretation. She didn't speak in code. She didn't play media games. She was direct, enthusiastic, and clear about her intentions. So, when someone predicts she'll do the opposite, they're not being bold. They're not providing unique insight. They're not seeing something everyone else missed. They're just not paying attention. And in a media landscape where attention is supposedly the most valuable currency, that's pretty ironic. The 2026 World Cup is going to be significant for multiple reasons. It's the first major international tournament since the WNBA's explosion in popularity. It's Caitlin Clark's first opportunity to play for Team USA after the Olympic roster controversy. It's a chance for the next generation of American stars to prove themselves on the global stage. And it's a crucial stepping stone toward the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, which will be the biggest moment for women's basketball in decades. All of that matters. All of that is worth serious analysis and thoughtful commentary. What doesn't matter is manufactured controversy based on ignoring what players actually say. What doesn't help anyone is bold predictions that prioritize clicks over credibility. Caitlin Clark will play in the 2026 World Cup. She told us she wants to. She explained why it matters. And unless something dramatic changes, that's exactly what's going to happen. Anyone predicting otherwise better have a really good reason that goes beyond it would be bold if she skipped it. Because right now, the only bold thing about that prediction is how confidently it ignores reality. So here's the question for you. Do you think media members should be held accountable for making predictions that directly contradict what players have said? Or is this just part of the game? Throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks, and move on when you're wrong. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this pattern isn't going away unless people start calling it out. Hit that like button if you appreciate analysis that actually listens to what players say instead of making up narrative. Subscribe if you want more WNBA coverage that prioritizes accuracy over hot takes. And share this with anyone who's tired of sports media treating bold predictions like they're more valuable than basic research. Because Caitlin Clark was clear about her intention. The only confusion here is why anyone would predict the opposite.